The next thing I want to talk about is paying attention to the defense. So how the defense sets up will affect what is the best way to run our offense. You'll see a lot where people just mark you straight up. So this little purple line is the defender. They're just standing in front of you, sort of trying to take away your easy throws. But really, if they're just marking you straight up, you can throw a forehand or a backhand around them. It just takes a little bit of stepping out. They're not totally taking away either throw. When that happens, then the wheel play can work just as we planned. This person can cut out and then angle over into the cutting lane even more as they go because we're able to throw the righty forehand around them. It's once we play better teams, we're going to see them actually trying to force us forehand or backhand. So if the defender is way over here, they're forcing a righty forehand on number two. So if number two is a righty, they're going to have to throw a forehand. If they're a lefty, they're going to be throwing the backhand out into this open space. And again, when they're forcing us this way, the force is into the lane. Here's the main cutting lane. So this also does not need any change on our part. Of course, it's easy to cut out here because we can huck this forehand huck. And if we cut in, we still have the forehand on the underthrow. So if they're forcing us into the lane, that's totally normal as well. The thing you have to keep in mind is when the force is the other way. The force is directing us back into the stack. Because this is, in a sense, the best defensive scheme. This is their best setup because they're actually taking away a lot of that space that our side stack over here was intended to create. So this is where you need to think about how should we vary our cuts. Cutting way out into here is a good cut if you know your thrower has that throw. So if number two can throw a break mark throw out there, then it really opens up space. But we also want to make it easy for our throwers. If you're wide open, then just cut into the place they can hit you easily instead of making a break mark throw. So if they're forcing us into the stack, then what we do is we make our outcut sharper so that they can huck it out here because it's harder to huck out here. That's what the force is taking away. And when we cut back in, we also make it much sharper so that when they throw the disc to us, they can do it without having to break the mark. Because we're going to be coming in like this because we're wide open. Otherwise, we probably would have hucked the disc. So why make the throw unnecessarily difficult for your mark? Pay attention to where the force is once a team starts forcing us. And if they're forcing into the stack, then try to make your cuts more easy on the open side for your teammate. This applies in many ways because sometimes you're going to end up way out here in space and you need to cut in. And in that case, you don't want to necessarily just cut straight in. It's great to angle your cut toward the open side. This makes a very easy throw for your teammate rather than having to throw it out here somewhere. So always think about cutting into the open side, even if it's toward the stack, if that's the way the defense is pushing us. Now, you won't always get the disc. Sometimes we just can't get the throw off. So the next thing I want to tell you is about how to clear. There's 3 basic ways of clearing, and you need to understand all of them. The point that applies to them no matter what is, you don't clear slowly. When you're in the stack, this is when you're resting. You're going 0 or 5%. You're just trotting along, maybe 25% if you're getting ready to cut. That's when you get to rest. But when you're clearing, you need to be clearing at your full speed. So you're cutting out here at 75%, you're cutting hard in at 100%, and you need to keep clearing hard because once you get in here and it's obvious that you need to get out of the way of the next cut, any time that you waste is just clogging up and interfering with the next player. So we want to clear, always clear at 100% until you get out of that cutting lane and back here into the stack. So the simplest way to clear, if you're coming in off an in cut and you need to clear, you just curl back into the bottom of the wheel, to the front of the stack down here, and you just resume your place in the wheel. Sometimes you're going to have to clear on an out cut too. Like maybe you do a little Z cut, you sort of jiggy like this and you end up out, but you're not going to get the disc. You could end up making another in cut, but at this point you're tired. Remember, you have to conserve your energy and play smart in Frisbee. So if you just made a whole bunch of cuts, you need to get into the stack to rest and let one of your teammates who's rested make that cut, rather than you just getting more and more tired and more ineffective at your cuts out in the lane. So if you're deep like this, curling over out of that lane into the top of the stack is totally fine. Your teammates, that's not going to stop your teammates from cutting. Number 4 can just make a sharper cut this way into the lane, and your clear is not going to interfere with them at all as long as you're going fast. If you're going slowly out here and just standing, that's when your defender might be able to move over here and poach onto the disc if it gets thrown up. That's what we have to guard against. The last way to clear is a little bit different. This is really important because it's counterintuitive. Sometimes when you clear, you're all the way over here in the open side of the lane, and you don't want to curl across in front of the disc because that's going to take away too many throws. So in this case, what you actually do is you just keep cutting to clear. There is no problem. It is never wrong to just cut past the person with the disc and end up being another dump down here. Just in a sense, we can stack as many players as we want out here in the dump in order to create space for our players up here. So there's no such thing as clogging the dump. The thing to be aware of is what you don't want to do is stop right here, level with the thrower, because you think you're out of the way. But your teammate is going to, your defender, is going to be 10 feet behind you. So if you're level with your teammate, your defender is still out here in the lane interfering with the person who wants to cut next. So when you clear in this way, you need to actually get toward the dump. You need to get way past them and clear hard 100%. Once you get here, you can stop. That's when you can go 0%. You can just rest there for a minute and recover your breath. In Frisbee, a lot of the energy management is cutting hard and then knowing when to stop. And that's what the stack is for, when you can rest and recover. Don't keep cutting too hard at 100% or you're going to burn yourself out. So you can rest back here in the dump and you can rest over here in the stack. What you cannot do is rest out here anywhere in the lane. That's the thing to be on guard against. Okay, now let's see how this works in a couple of the examples. Let's pay attention to how the defense is marking us. So here's the throw goes up, and notice what the defense is doing here. This is just a straight up mark. So they're not trying to force one throw or another, and they're doing this because this offense is so difficult to stop. In fact, when we play teams, they have to play person defense on us. They have to play one-on-one. They're not allowed to play zone defense or poaching defense. But that's different with these adult leagues. So in this league, notice how the blue team is setting up. Japan is setting up. This person is not guarding anybody. They're just guarding space. Because the wheel play is so effective, it's almost impossible to guard this with person-on-person defense. So once you look at a few of these players, we'll see a couple more come into space here. Look, this is the person guarding person on them. This person is just poaching in this whole lane to try to slow them down. When the stack is way over here, the defenders don't need to be over with all those people because they can throw somebody out here in the lane to try to clog up where the cuts want to go. This kind of defense that Japan is running, they're attempting to defend it this way because it's so impossible to shut down this play just with person-to-person defense. But here's the thing about our games. Playing like this is illegal in kids' leagues. So they are not allowed to play zone or poaching defense until 8th grade. So the only way to counteract this play that we're going to run among the pros is playing a defense which our opponents are not allowed to play. So that's why, yes, sure, this offense is effective because the best players in the world are using it. But it's even more effective for us because the teams we're going to play aren't even allowed to try to defend it like this. So notice what happens when they're trying to poach this. See, this person is just trying to cut away any of these throws. All of these other defenders are playing person-to-person defense back here, but they still can't stop it. It's just too hard when there's such an open cutting lane to take away all of those looks. And eventually, so notice this, see, here's another poacher. There's two dumps here, and this person is out trying to do a little poaching in the lane to slow it down, but they still get the in cut off and get the huck off. It's just that difficult to defend against. Let me show you one more example of how they're trying to defend this in this game. So look. So here's the dump out here, but notice what these two players are doing. Neither one of them is bothering to cover the dump. This person is just poaching in the lane. And so look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 of the USA team over here. And there's 1, 2, 3. There's only 4 defenders over here. The others are all trying to get in the lane. And this person isn't guarding any of these guys. Look at these people over here. The stack is left almost defenseless. They're trying to put the defenders out here in the lane in order to slow down these sorts of cuts because it's just that difficult to defend. But again, what this person in the white hat is doing is not allowed in our league. They have to be guarding this person. There's no poaching or zone defense in the lane. So that just shows how hard it is to deal with this kind of play. Even doing this zone poaching defense, I don't know if you saw this person. They were poaching out in that lane too when that play went up. But even doing all these sorts of defensive setups, it's difficult to stop the play. Okay, let's just watch the final goal. And there you have it. Okay, so what I've tried to explain in this video is how the wheel play works. When to think about continuation cuts, how to vary your speed, how to think about the defensive setup and change how you're cutting depending upon what the defense is doing. And finally, how to clear hard. When you don't get the disc, it's just important to keep running hard and get out of the lane as it is to cut hard in the lane in the first place. So clearing is as important as cutting. Okay, thanks.